Karla Schafer, Auntie's Beads designer, and I will be demonstrating a cluster bracelet. The list of supplies and tools needed for this project is a strand of dagger beads, 7 to 8 Chinese crystal bicones, 2 crimp beads, a toggle, 19 strand beading wire, a nipper tool, and chain nose pliers. You will also need an 8/0 seed bead. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is measure out 12 inches of wire, and we'll need 3 pieces. I'm using a 19 strand beading wire because it is, since we're going to have to run all 3 strands through a crimp bead and also the bicone beads. The first thing we're going to do after we've got our wire cut is when I'm connecting a bracelet, I like to do the round part of the toggle first, just in case I need a little extra length or taper down on the end where the bar goes through. So I'm going to run my toggle on the 3 wires, then I'm going to slip the crimp bead, all 3 wires through the crimp. Now, run your crimp bead on your 3 wires, then your toggle. There we go. Then run the toggle on. Then I'm going to bring all 3 wires back through the crimp bead. And the crimp technique for multiple strands is a flat crimp, which some people don't think is a viable crimp, but it is, especially when you're doing multiple strands. Anything over 2 doesn't really work in a crimp tool. So I've got them pulled together, and I'm going to flat crimp with my chain nose pliers and make sure it's secure. And the next thing we'll do is we're going to string on a bicone over all 3 wires. And you want to run the little tails into the bicone. If you prefer, you can use a silver or silver plate bead here as well. Now what we're going to do is we're going to separate our 3 wires, and we're going to bead each one of these individually, and that gives the little cluster effect on the bracelet. After I've got the bicone strung on over all 3 of the strands, I'm going to separate them. We're going to work 1 strand at a time. And I have, on this style bracelet, I use 6 daggers. I've already done the measuring and all that good part for you. I have done it with the larger teardrop, and I used 4 on each strand, but it does come out to be a little shorter bracelet, and you're going to have to add more beads to each end. But in this case, we're going to be using 6 daggers with 1 seed bead in between them. So first thing I'm going to do is string a seed bead, and I'm using a seed bead mix, and so therefore I'm picking up a random color. Some people don't like to do that, but that's okay. You can pick a solid color or however you want, make a pattern. But you're going to string a seed bead, a dagger, a seed bead, and a dagger. We're going to do this 6 times, ending with the seed bead for each strand. Oops. You can use your thread as a needle. Sometimes that works, just by pushing the beads on. Sometimes you shoot them. And sometimes it's nice to go ahead and divide out your quantity so you don't have to count every time like I'm doing. Once I have 6, and then I have 1 more seed bead to go on, then I'm just going to hang on to this strand. And if you like, you can also use a bead stopper. And I'm just going to hang on to it and string another seed bead and another dagger pattern for 6 times. What this comes out to be, these 6 daggers and seed beads, it comes out to be about 1 inch. in length, so if you wanted to use any top drilled beads, you can kind of gauge how much you need, but it will affect the length of your bracelet the less you do. So 1 seed bead. So I've got the second strand. I'm going to hang on to the end and do the third. And in this particular bracelet using the daggers, I do 5 clusters. And this is what we were calling Karla Kam Rewind. This is actually a project that was online that Shanna Steele had done in turquoise. I think it was turquoise teardrops. And someone wanted to see a video of it. So we're going to be doing a couple of these here and there, along with some new things. So if you have anything you want to see a video of, send me a note on Facebook or my email. Okay, now that I have 3 strands beaded with the daggers, as you can see here, we're going to slip another bicone over all 3 of the strands and bring it down to the beadwork. Okay, now that I've got almost all 5 of the clusters done, I'm just going to string on the last couple of daggers that I have, and then we'll end the bracelet. And if you want to check the length of the bracelet before we finish it, so you know how much you're going to need on the end, on a toggle, you always measure from the middle of the round toggle. So right now I'm just above 7 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and string on a bicone over all 3 of my strands, as I've done throughout the bracelet. And then I'm going to go ahead and add 1 seed bead over all 3 strands and another bicone before I add the toggle. And if you don't need it this long, you can also end with, instead of another bicone, you can end with the 5mm silver round, something like that. You just want to have a little extra length in here to get the bar through the toggle. So now I'm going to string on my last crimp bead over all 3 wires. And as you go through doing your little clusters, you can kind of give each wire a little tug, and then I'll kind of tighten them up, makes them bow out a little more. And then I'm going to take the bar, the toggle, and slip it over all 3 wires, back through the crimp. And I'm also going to run them through this 6mm bicone to kind of hide these tails. So I'm going to loosen it up a little bit. If you have trouble getting it to go through, you can use your chain nose pliers to push it all through. And then we're going to tighten this up. I like to try to pull them together as much as possible, so if I've got them all separated here. And I've got it as tight as I can get it without moving that crimp bead up a little bit. It makes it hard to get through when you've got all the wires going through that 6mm bicone as well. Now that I've got it in place, again we're going to flat crimp. And I'm going to pull all the wires as tight as possible and cut as close to that bead as I can. Put the tails in. And then we have completed the bracelet. And that bar goes through there without any problem.